I recreated the chicken coop from Stardew Valley in Planet Zoo. I'm making it look exactly like how it looks when you first start the Meadowlands Farm in Stardew Valley. Started with the terraforming. So this chicken coop is situated in the corner by the entrance of like the mountain area. So there's like a hill with a waterfall on the side. So I started with the terraforming on that area, but of course I needed it functional in Planet Zoo, so I needed to make sure that the water could actually sit in the terraformed areas. And now I've got the water on the top level and the little river for the side. And now onto the chicken coop. Obviously this is like the main part. To start, I wanted to make a little template. I had a look at all of the different wood textures that we have in game of like the wall wood textures, and none of them had a FlexiColor vertical paneling pattern. So I did have to create that myself. So that's why I've just got a plain wall and a little roof that has the template. And looking at different pre-made doors as well, I wanted the sizing to fit the game one. So the doors were either too big or too small. Another thing that I'd need to make myself, but just using everything pre-made as templates. So I've got the main door, which your character will walk through to go into the coop to collect all the eggs, and then the little door for the chickens. This is the base coop as well, so the coop will get bigger if you upgrade it in Stardew Valley, but I'm doing the one that you get as soon as you load up the game. As well as the window, just using the pre-made ones as a template as well. I'm using this fence as a template again. That's from the Oceania pack, but I will be replacing that with base game items. Try to make this build base game friendly, so even if you don't have the Barnyard Animal Pack for the chickens, you can still have a cute little coop if you want it. But I will add some barnyard objects right at the end, just to add a little bit more detail into the build. In the fenced area in Stardew Valley, there's a couple of objects that look like a bucket, I think. So I was trying to find objects that fit in with the size and the look of the objects in Stardew Valley. So I used a little plant pot, I think, from the conservation pack. But I will replace that with a barnyard object to match in with the style. I built this before the pack was released, but I knew of the pack. This build was also featured in the showcase zoo when I showed off all of the animals, all of the chickens from the Barnyard Animal Showcase. We're actually living in this habitat. So if it's familiar and you might have seen it before in the showcase. Onto the paneling, the wood paneling. I'm using a base game wood plank for the paneling. And to create the staggered pattern, I've used the 2 meter and the 4 meter planks so they could space out evenly, so they would look nice. You can see the pattern. And just grouping them separate from the rest of the building so I could duplicate them easier. So when I noticed that the walls that I used for the template weren't quite right for the build, but I'm going to replace those as well with something that I can change the color of to match better with Stardew. And some pillars as well on the other side. Meadowlands Farm is one of my favorites in Stardew because you do actually start with this chicken coop and with 2 chickens. Replacing the walls on the inside of the coop with a FlexiColor wall piece. I think it's the concrete I chose, so I could recolor it a darker green color to fit in with the background of the paneling. It's like a dark green. It matches the Stardew Valley coop a lot better with the dark green in the background. The paneling on the roof was trickier than the paneling for the walls because I needed it to fit in with that triangle piece. But I'm still following the same short long pattern to get the spacing right. Do you play Stardew Valley as well as Planet Zoo? And if you do and you've had a chicken coop, what did you name your chickens? I named mine after baked goods. So I have meringue, obviously. That's mainly just egg whites. I have roulade, which is a meringue spiral cake. Pavlova, which is another meringue-based dish. And I've forgotten the last one. Oh no. Macaron. basically I just picked things that are sweet baked goods that have lots of eggs in them, obviously because they're chickens. The roof is a nice brown color. I needed to move that slightly so we could have a cute little overhang. So the roof needed to be split from the group so I could use advanced move on the roof to make it easier to move it and have that cute little eave. Creating my own window with the same wood plank pieces that I used for the corners of the coop, and I used the glowing panels, I can't remember exactly what they're called, to create like the window effect. So it looks like a proper window. Same planks of wood again for the door as well, just because they're flexi color and I'd rather everything match in wood tone, and add in those little details in there that match the Stardew Coop to get everything accurate and to try and make the coops look similar in the both games. I did have screenshots open on my second monitor to look back and forth to make sure that the Planet Zoo one matched the Stardew Valley one, and the same technique with the wood planks from the East Asia style to create the chicken door too. This is not a functional chicken door in Planet Zoo, but it is in Stardew. You can open that little door so the chickens could come out and eat the grass, so you don't have to feed them hay in the first 3 seasons of the year. I'm using the climbable wood pieces to recreate the fence, but also make it a little bit more even than the Oceania fence. And once I'd created one panel, I could then duplicate it just like a pre-made fence. The hay bedding pieces work so well in that little area. It matches so nicely with the Stardew Valley one. Finding matching plants was a little bit trickier to match from Stardew to Planet Zoo, but some of the bushes worked really nicely. Maybe if it was a different season, they might match a little bit better, but I was going off spring in Stardew Valley. So I picked this hydrangea bush because it was the right sort of size. We just kind of got to ignore the flowers. The fencing around the coop when you first start off in the Meadowlands Farm is a wooden fence, so I picked the wooden barriers, and everything in the game is square and pixelated, so it is a square habitat compared to what I would normally do. So everything needs to be square in Stardew, so everything's square in Planet Zoo for this one. Trying to match a few more plants with the foliage, which is really fun. I love duplicating and replicating things, so I had a lot of fun making this habitat and was really excited to add the Sussex chickens in the habitat too. So there's a couple of different tree types in Stardew Valley that I wanted to match. This tree fit really nicely in the gap. It had the same sort of shape because it was like rounded at the top, and it wasn't too big because the coop's really small. But to get the right perspective, like the right sizing, the larger walls and the larger roof didn't quite fit right. I even painted the terrain just like in game, and I tried to match the pattern as well. I will show what it looks like in Stardew Valley if you're not familiar. The special thing about the Meadowlands Farm is not only do you get a chicken coop with 2 chickens when you start, but you also get a special grass called bluegrass, and that makes the chickens happier when they eat it. I couldn't quite get the right color grass, but I found a grass that was kind of more blue than green, and then added some wildflowers in a blue color to make it look more like bluegrass. The bluegrass doesn't look very blue until you compare it to the regular green grass, and then it stands out a lot more. I think it looks so much fun. And the chickens do have fun walking around this area, and they can walk through all of the grass. I have tested that. I also put the feeding station in the grass, so the chickens look like they're eating the grass, like they eat the grass in Stardew Valley. I also copied the pattern of the bluegrass and the regular grass in Stardew Valley to Planet Zoo, so it would look even more similar. And another fun little detail I added in that matches the Stardew Valley game is that I added in rocks and sticks. The rocks around your farm and the rocks inside this chicken coop, you can hit with a pickaxe to collect rock, but I just placed it down to match the starting point of the game. So I use small rocks to add extra details in, like you've just started the game and you haven't cleared out your farm yet. And I used the hosta plant as the fiber weeds that you can size to collect fiber in Stardew Valley. This is like not a cleared out version of the coop. You can also find wild seeds, which is so helpful in Stardew Valley. You can tell that that's also one of my special interests. Adding two games that are two of my favorite games and merging them together was so much fun. And just adding some of the sticks down as well, like the little pieces of wood that you can collect in Stardew Valley around the habitat. These were fun because you could rotate them around and make them look kind of different as well. They're actually from the construction tab, not the nature tab. I think they're an African style object. And lastly, I added in some new objects from the Barnyard Animal Pack. I think this pack is really cool because they do add in build objects with all of the animals, whereas previous animal packs have not added in a lot of build objects. So it's fun adding a few more farm themed objects around the habitat. I also, right at the end, added in the waterfall that is part of the Stardew Valley farm as well, right next to the chicken coop. I leave that until last minute because it does take up some computer brain power and it helps with frame rate and everything to leave the special effects till last. I also group my special effects together so I don't lose them. Because those little special effects nodules are so small, they're very easily lost. So if you don't want to lose any of the special effects, group them all together, which means it's a lot easier to find at least one and then you don't lose them all. You can also multi-select in that area to find that group, which is a lot easier. And that is the Stardew Valley chicken coop replicated as a Sussex Chicken Habitat for Planet Zoo. What did you think? Do you play Stardew Valley and Planet Zoo? Or has this habitat made you want to go out and get the game? It is very fun. I love that farming game. And don't my chickens look adorable hopping around this habitat? I've even got some special coronation chickens as well. Can you spot them? They're a lot lighter in color than the Sussex chickens in the white because they have grey instead of brown black speckles. If you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload on Wednesdays and Sundays. I also stream on Sundays at 5 p.m. UK time. If you want to join me on a live stream, I play all sorts of different games, including Planet Zoo, Stardew Valley, and other variety games. So leave me some suggestions if you'd like me to play other games as well. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, and if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!